Hi, I'm Pat Barnard, Group Managing Editor for TMCnet, coming to you from IT Expo West in Los Angeles. And joining me is Kevin Brown, Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Symform. How are you doing today, Kevin?
Excellent. Thanks,
Great.
Pat.
Now, I understand you guys have a rather unique approach to data storage in the cloud. Is that right?
That's actually very correct.
So why don't you give me a high-level view of your company and what you guys do?
I'd be delighted to. So we're a little out of the box in that we've created a global storage system that's based on the fundamental premise that local storage is extremely cheap and plentiful. Internet capacity is ubiquitous worldwide and largely available 24/7. And what we've done is aggregated all of this local storage and all of this existing internet capacity into a global storage network for the purposes of creating durable storage for backup and disaster recovery. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like Skype meets BitTorrent, if I can sort of come up with an analogy. It's a little different, but really it's really predicated on the fact that small businesses and medium-sized businesses all over the world have lots of disk capacity, typically sitting in their offices, and if not, you can buy it very inexpensively. And the benefit of that is that we don't really need a data center to store data, mm-hmm. And the economic benefit of that is about a 10x reduction in cost, mm-hmm. Which makes our customers happy.
Okay, great. So how do you go out and find these companies, and how do you go to contract with them? How does it work?
Excellent, yes. So our entire business is channel focused. So we work with MSPs, okay. Managed services providers, or IT services consultants.
Right.
They effectively are our sales force. Mm-hmm. So we don't work directly with small and medium-sized businesses, but we work with the IT service providers that are essentially the outsourced, kind of I call them plumbers, for
right.
small and medium-sized businesses. Most small and medium-sized businesses, when they have a computer problem, whether it's an acquisition of a computer or printer or internet service or telephony, or something goes wrong, a printer jams, or someone deletes some files, they call up Charlie, the IT services guy, and
right.
There are hundreds of thousands of these guys in the country. So they were effectively a very natural channel for us.
Okay, so they work on your behalf, and what would they say? I mean, how would the pitch sort of go? Hey, I noticed that you have some excess capacity here. How'd you like to make a little bit more revenue off of your investment? Is that sort of how it goes?
Yeah, well, it depends. Of course, it depends on the channel provider and their customer, but it's really a pitch about data protection, right?
Right.
So the nice thing about data protection, it's different than other IT services that a IT services provider would sell to you as a small business, is that data protection is something that everyone needs, right? You can't find someone in a small business who's has data that doesn't want to protect it.
Right.
Whether they are or not is a whole other question. And the interesting thing about that is this one particular stat that I like to use when describing this, is that IDC published a study about 2 years ago where the high line that came out of that was that 70% of small businesses that go through a catastrophic loss of data, whether it's a theft or a flood or a fire or something, they go out of business within 1 year. Mm-hmm. And that number gets scarier in 2 years, right? So your data is your livelihood, so why not protect it? So the pitch really goes as you would probably think. It's like, I can help you protect your data. Yeah, I know I want to protect my data, but prevailing rates in the world and the market are expensive. Very expensive in other models. And our channel says, well, how would you like to do it for a flat fee on a monthly basis for like $50?
Uh-huh.
All of a sudden you've got the guy's attention, and it's one of these systems that's set and forget. It's very convenient. You set it up once and you basically don't have to touch it. It really trumps SneakerNet, which is sort of the traditional way the small businesses protect their data. They copy it on a USB drive or a tape,
right.
And then they're forced to take it home,
right.
Which never happens, of course.
Right. Now, what about compliancy, regulation? How do you sort of fit in with that?
Good point. Good question. We're asked about that frequently. We are using basically software and statistics to effectively equal, if not exceed, the physical security that exists in data centers, where you have optical scanners and badge readers and personnel practices and all that kind of stuff. By the way, data centers, most people don't know, get breached all the time. There are all kinds of attacks and fraudulent problems with data centers.
They're a target.
Exactly, they are a target. As it relates to regulatory type of compliance, there are all kinds of issues, of course, but however, the standard and critical issues typically encryption, right?
Yep.
And we're using a 256-bit cipher, which is sanctioned by the NSA and the federal standard for encryption technology, which, as it relates to, say, HIPAA, for example, which is the compliance law around healthcare data, or Sarbanes-Oxley, or others similarly, it's largely about keeping the data encrypted at source, in flight, and at destination. There are other safeguards and other reliability and security issues, but that generally prevails in the market as it relates to comparisons.
Okay, great. We've been talking to Kevin Brown, Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Symform. Thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
I enjoyed it.
Yep.